So, first of all, thank you so much for everyone. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our fourth day of Tech Week. So, an event made of by Avenue Coders focused on innovation, personal projects, and everything linked with technology in the company. So, thank you so much for being with us today. In the session, we also have our special clients from different companies. So, thank you so much as well. And just a quick reminder, during the presentation, I am going to share our link from AC Hub. So AC Hub, our internal social network, is a special space for Tech Week 2022, when you are totally able and free to share your exchanging questions and suggestions. So we have a special post from Pablo González through our presentation. And of course, I am going to share our attendant list. It's very important to print this present list with your opinions, with your suggestions about this presentation. Okay. And of course, we're able to assess our survey, our attendant list by QR code on the screen. And about our presentation today, we will learn a little bit more about why you should care about accessibility. And to talk about this amazing topic, let's welcome to Pablo González. So thank you very much, Pablo, for your presentation and your knowledge. And now it's up to you. So I am stop the presentation on my screen and share, and you are able to share your screen, okay?
Okay, thank you. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes? That's
Okay.
perfect.
Um, well, my name is Pablo González. I am a QA engineer. I'm also a test automation specialist. Today I will talk about accessibility. Um, I have divided the presentation in 5 sections. What is accessibility? Why accessibility testing is important? Some testing tools that we can use, a practical demonstration using some tools you have available in web browsers, and also a project using Cypress, and final thoughts of the conclusion. So first of all, what is accessibility? So here, there are several definitions, but I have chosen this one. That is a general definition. Accessibility is the practice of making information activities and environments sensible, meaningful, and usable for as many people as possible. So we are talking about all the people, not only people with disabilities. Um, about disabilities, it's important to mention that around 15 or 20% of the world population has some kind of disability. Um, so that is one of the good reasons you should care about accessibility, because it's a lot of people. And besides that, there are United Convention of the Rights of People with Disability that many countries have signed. So you have regulations, some uh, compliance in many countries about this. Usually in some countries, they apply accessibility regulations to government organizations, and some other countries apply that kind of laws for public and private organizations. Now I'm going to talk about web accessibility. So now we are focusing on people using the web that have some kind of disability. Later I will explain about that. But if you implement accessibility for your website or application, you are not only you're giving benefits for people with disabilities, but also everyone. I will cover that later, but you have a human point of view also, because you have given equal opportunities to people with disability to access information, use your service or product. As I mentioned before, accessibility is part of the law. So if you comply with the accessibility, you avoid possible litigations. Well, web accessibility, we are talking about disabilities. We have different kind of disabilities, auditory or difficult disability of hearing, cognitive, physical, speech, visual, neurological. Some people have several disabilities. So you have different tools, assistive technologies that people use, but it could be a combination of different assistive technologies or some tools, and you can get a disability from there, or perhaps you have a temporary disability. Perhaps you are practicing some kind of sport and you broke your arm, so something temporary, and you never know. Perhaps also you have disabilities because due to the aging, because we are getting older and we have some disabilities, like we lost the vision, the concentration, understanding. So that happened to everyone in some point of time. As I said here, well, I have mentioned that many people can benefit from accessibility, as there are some situations like you are in a public library and you have to keep in silence and you need to watch a video. So if the video has captions, for instance, you can watch the video and you can benefit from that kind of accessibility feature. And for accessibility, there are several guidelines for create content, publish content, produce videos, text, agents. I mean, browser editors have to comply with some guidance also, so you can produce accessible content. So I would like to share two videos here too, because before going to the guidelines, it's important to understand kind of disabilities and how users handle that kind of situation and what tools they use. So this is the first one. Let me know if you're able to hear the song.
either through preference or circumstance.
It's okay.
Whether it's temporarily limited mobility, a permanent physical disability, or simply a broken mouse, the result is the same. Websites and apps need to be operable by keyboard. Web accessibility, essential for some, useful for all. Visit w3.org/WAI/perspectives for more information on keyboard compatibility.
This is very important. Your website or application should support only the keyboard, because as explained here, perhaps you have a broken mouse, or perhaps someone in the video you're seeing a person using a mouse stick and using the keyboard. So it's very important. Pay attention to that. The second one, there are many videos about this, but I have chosen only two.
Web accessibility perspectives. Video captions. Video isn't just about pictures, it's also about sound. Without the audio, you'd have to guess what this film is about. Frustrating, isn't it? Not knowing what's going on. That's the situation for everyone who can't hear. Captions make videos accessible, which is also handy for people who want to watch video in loud environments, or where you need to be very, very quiet. Web accessibility, essential for some, useful for all. Visit w3.org/WAI/perspectives for more.
Well, I have shared these videos because perhaps when you don't have any kind of disability, you don't care about these things, but for people with disabilities, if this is very important. So well, I have told you before that there are several standards. They are defined by the World Wide Web Consortium, W3C. There are a lot of documentation in internet about this. And as I said, there are three important guidelines. One is to Web Content Accessibility Guideline. Usually, the developers have to follow this, because it is how you present the content, and you have to follow that guidelines, so you are complying with accessibility standards. These standards are international standards. For instance, how to present the text, images need to have some alternative text, because some people use a screen reader to navigate your website application. So it's important to have that kind of thing. Or if you are sharing a video, you should provide captions. Transcript is a description of the context, but also the what the people is talking about, or what you're watching the video, because some people that is not able to see will need that to understand the context and the content of the video. You have authoring tools, accessibility guidelines. So if you are producing content like text or videos, also you need to follow that kind of guidelines. For instance, for editors or CMS, content management systems, like you can find WordPress, for instance. You can, for instance, if you're producing content using WordPress, you can install some plugins that they care or they can verify some accessibility guidelines. The last one is user agent accessibility guidelines. That is applicable to browsers, media players, and so on. This is well. Now I'm gonna talk about how to test accessibility. Why is important? The automated accessibility test can help you to find some failures when talking about accessibility compliance. But it's important to mention that you will not know that if your website or application is 100% compliant only using test automation, because always you need some kind of human intervention to test that. Because, for instance, a tool can tell you that if you have an image, and the tool can tell you that that image doesn't have alternative text, which is used for people using a screen reader, for instance. But the tool doesn't know if the alternative text that you define is correct according to the context. So you need human intervention in some kind of test. If you're a tester, you can identify these issues, so you can deliver a product with a higher quality, and you can share that with your team to require the changes needed to be compliant with the accessibility guidelines. And it's important when we are talking about accessibility. You can work together with several people. First, the product owner needs to define that accessibility is a feature for his product. Then developers have to implement that following the guidelines. And I think UX people is very important here, because they have to create layouts, all the design, thinking about accessibility, because usually, well, they care about usability, but if you care about usability, you should include accessibility, but that not happens all the time. Some UX designers care about only usability, but they forget about accessibility. So that is very important. Now, as I mentioned before, you need human intervention to test, but also you have to involve users with disability, because they can find some needs that you don't know, or you are not able to identify in your test, or perhaps they are using different assistive technologies. So you have to involve persons with disability, and usually you ask them to use your product or application and get a feedback, or perhaps it could be a formal testing to test some specific feature or some task. And well, it's important to mention that evaluations through development is more effective than only tests at the end, because you know, the cost to make the changes will be higher. Well, there are 3 categories for testing tools. Tools which require human assistance. As I mentioned before, the first one is keyboard. You need to navigate your application or website using the keyboard, and you can test using screen readers. For instance, you have screen readers in MacBook or in your mobile. You have for Android and iOS, you have a screen reader you can activate and experience that if you are a user without disabilities. There are semi-automated tools like X, Web. Google Lighthouse is built in Google Chrome. I will show that later. And you have used some tools for automation that you can include in your pipeline, for instance. Quickly, I will, if you're testing keyboard, there are common shortcuts you can validate here. Here you have that one in red, but usually tab key, arrow keys, press enter to activate some link or submit a form. Tab key is very important because if you don't have a mouse, you have a form. You need to navigate through all the fields on the bottom, or if you have a menu in your website, you need to be able to navigate the structure using only the tab key, for instance. It should be logical order. Screen readers, as I said, you have in your mobile and also in your computer. There are free options and commercial options. This is semi-automated tools. You can have plugins for your web browser, or you have built-in tools. And I will share this at the end. It's a Cypress automation project. For instance, using Chrome. You have here, right click on the page, inspect. And you have here Lighthouse. This tool is very useful. You can check accessibility, but also you can check performance and other stuff. And you can check also desktop or mobile layout. So for instance, I will check only accessibility, but this tool is very good because you can check, for instance, performance, that you can share that with your team developers, and you can improve the quality of your application. We could recommend to, for instance, to improve the first time the application is loading using lazy loading. Sometimes you don't need to load all the images, only when needed, or perhaps images are heavy, or you are using some JavaScript you don't need, or you can use it like a shape. So I have run this tool only for accessibility, and here you have some recommendations. For instance, buttons don't have an accessibility name. This is very important. Some elements here, here they don't have a alternative text, and here you can see which elements. For every recommendation here, it is very useful. You have a link here with the detailed explanation about this, how to fix that. There are more here. This is very important also because people with low vision, if you don't use the right combination of background and foreground colors, they will have very difficulties to see the content. So you have here the elements you need to fix. There are another, well, here, for instance, it's talking about tab index. That is very important if you are using only the keyboard. This is building in Chrome, but quickly I will show Firefox here. There's another website. You have here, if you right click on the page, you have inspect accessibility properties. And for instance, here you can check all the issues also. Here you have a detail. And this is, I think this is very nice. You have, for instance, the tab order. So as you can see, you have 1, 2 here, but well, only 2. But you don't have tab key to navigate through the menu and other content. Perhaps you're not following a logical order. And finally, I will share a Cypress project. It's a tool very used now in the market, in the industry for testing. So instead of running those tools using the web browser, I'm here created a simple test. You can check the same rules or guidelines that you can validate using the White House, for instance. You can run this using a Cypress project. And perhaps if you have a pipeline and you deploy some application, you can run this test to check the accessibility. I have run this project using the first website I have shown, and you can see here. Also, you have all the changes that you need, all the violations. You have a description and the nodes, how many nodes of your application have this kind of issue. Finally, I would like to share the conclusion. So if you consider accessibility, you are increasing your share market, you are widening your audience, because as I mentioned in the beginning, around 15 or 20% of the world population have some kind of disability. So it's important because you can sell your product or service to many people. And if you have accessibility and your competitor doesn't have, a person with accessibility will prefer your product or service, and perhaps that person will recommend that to another people with disability, or will talk about that with family or friends.
Hi, Pablo. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but our time is up.
Yeah.
So I know that you are on conclusion step as well, but I would like to know if someone has questions or if you wanted to say the final phrases, because our time is over, unfortunately.
I have some questions, but I'm already posting it in AC Hub because I think it take some longer time.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Pablo. Your team is amazing. It's an important topic, so in digital inclusion. And if you have any questions or suggestions about Paulo's presentation, you are able to access our AC Hub room. And of course, you can put your suggestion on our attendance list. So thank you so much, everyone. Yeah,
let me
go
finish
ahead.
here. I think key thing here also is that accessibility benefit everyone, not only people with disabilities, because you're implementing good practices in the development and you're improving the quality of your product. And also you can enhance your brand or your public image if you implement accessibility. Also, you have to have some kind of empathy with other people, I mean, with disabilities, because you're giving them the possibility to use your product or service, and also you are minimizing legal risk. If you implement accessibility in some countries, this is mandatory. And well, here in the presentation, there is a free online course. I recommend that course in the W3 site. It's free. It's for everyone. This is the quote I would like to share. I think it's very used in that website, but as I said, accessibility is essential for people with disabilities, but useful for all. That's all.
That's great. On time, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Pablo, for your presentation. And we'll see folks in the last day tomorrow of TechWeek. Thank you so much.